Hello. I will turn my headphones down before my ears explode. We're back in Studio Blue today. It is delightful. Everything's louder and newer and fresher.
Oh, my damn headphones.
I did wonder what you were doing under the table.
I'm trying to...
I'm not sure if the webcam can reveal this, but...
No, I'm trying to get both ends. No. Okay.
I won't say it, but that's what she said. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to NFLementary. We are, of course, back again Tuesday mornings. We're also here on Friday mornings if you are unaware of that. We also have a YouTube channel if you're unaware of that. We also have a Twitter if you're unaware of that, now that all the plugs are out of the way. Today we have an interesting show planned. It's kind of a smorgasbord, as they would say in whatever country that language is.
German?
Is it? I thought
know.
it was like Finnish or Swedish.
Smorgasbord?
Yeah.
Well, smorgas, or smorgals, is
I'm not really looking for the etymology.
Swedish.
Yeah, it is Swedish.
But I don't know.
So we're doing a flatbread?
No.
So
smorgasbord is like a big
board.
collection of different things.
Board is table in Swedish. So yeah, a smorgasbord
must be Swedish.
Maybe Swedish.
Like flatbread table. We're doing a flatbread table today here on NFLementary. We'll be finishing off the Narwhals, our very popular series that has not got that many views on YouTube, but that's fine. Our NFL super team. We do, of course, have to deal with the most important part of the team, special teams. Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Punter, kicker, and also we need to finalise our coaching staff. Looking forward as well, would be doing a quick news recap, including everyone's favourite segment, What's Going Down with Antonio Brown. All of that's come the next hour. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But first, NFLementary Narwhals. If you are unaware of the rules, I'll quickly recap them for you. So essentially, the NFL has died. It has crashed and burned. There is no longer a National Football League. Roger Goodell, who was the commissioner and now is unemployed and potentially homeless, has come to us and said, look, boys, I really need something. I need you to resurrect the NFL for me. I need, you can use all the players you want. You don't need a salary cap. It's all up to you. So what we've done is, over the past couple of weeks, over the past week, we've been constructing an official super team. We may or may not recap all the players, depending on if I can be bothered to read out 53 names for you. We've done the defense. We've done the offense. If you missed either of those episodes, they're on our YouTube, NFLementary. Make sure you check them out. If you're listening live, you probably don't have time, but that's fine. Today, of course, special teams. So that is essentially, for those of you not in the know, special teams is whatever happens when the ball gets kicked. That was the way it was explained to me. I think it's a good way to summarise it. So in terms of specialised players, punter, kicker, and then I guess from who we have, we should probably pick a returner rather than...
Interesting just thing. I don't know. It's not wholly related, but I don't know if anyone saw the AAF again this week.
I watched a couple of the
highlights. When they don't do onside kicks. They do 4th and 12.
Like onside conversions.
And it wasn't just a 4th and 12 conversion. It was about a 35-yard conversion. It was actually pretty cool. It's a really cool idea.
I think it's a super exciting rule.
The NFL shouldn't necessarily put that in place of onside kicks, but I think that could be a nice option.
Future,
yeah.
So is it you just have to go for it on 4th down?
Yeah. So instead of doing an onside kick, the ball gets put on your 28-yard line, I think. Yeah. And it's essentially a 4th and 12 situation. So if you get 12 yards, you get to keep the ball. If you don't get 12 yards, the other team gets the ball as if it was just a 4th down for you. So obviously, and in terms of, I know obviously health and safety can be annoying, but kickoffs are obviously incredibly dangerous. 4th and 12 conversions could be a really interesting way of replacing. Onside kicks aren't particularly dangerous anyway because they can't necessarily build up momentum. Yeah. I
would say you have a choice of a normal kickoff or an onside kick, as you've always had, and now this 4th and 12 thing too.
But think about how exciting that would make
those
like the last
so
10 minutes of a game, for example.
And it takes away the whole controversy of special teams being the deciding factor in big games, which a lot of people don't like.
And some people don't necessarily believe in.
Yeah.
But I'm for that idea. I think it's really good. I think the AAF have come up with some really interesting ideas. I also love the fact that the AAF, for those of you who don't know, is essentially like another football league that started up. But rather than trying to be a rival to the NFL, it's like collaborating with the NFL. So like it's being aired after the NFL season is finished. Features a lot of former NFL stars. Shares broadly the same rule book.
Anyone I might know?
Austin Allen. He was on the practice squad for Tampa Bay last year.
Trevor Knight. What's his name? Hyung I can't remember his name. The Korean kicker from the Korean American, Nick Folk.
Nick Folk.
Yeah,
Oh.
former kicker.
For us. There's a theme here.
I'm trying to think who else. There's a running back who was with the Rams for a while, I think. Can't think of his name. Yeah, imagine. But yeah, it's really interesting. And you know, they're all new dynasties. There's only 8 of them.
They're all new dynasties.
Well, I meant like franchises, but dynasties came into my head for some reason. But yeah, it's been interesting, like semi-picking a team. I'm with the Arizona Hotshots, for those of you who are wondering, and kind of following their progress. But yeah, if people want us to talk about the AAF more, we can of course do that. Might be a useful way to fill the airtime, and something interesting to get into as well. But yeah, they have a lot of new... I love the fact that one of the other rules they have is that every time you score a touchdown, you have to go for a 2-point conversion.
There is no kick.
Yeah, I think it shows real like awareness of what they are, which is essentially a feeder league and a second chance league for people trying to get into the NFL. And what's one of the main things you want from your players in the NFL? You want situational awareness, and you want like some degree of like clutchness or experience in those situations.
Yeah.
And if you can say, it's almost like putting a badge on your CV to be like, I've done all these like real life fourth and 12 situations or 2-point conversion situations. I'm a red zone threat.
The thing is, though, with the NFL, is I don't think the NFL needs to introduce that as a compulsory thing, because there's a lot of teams that are already taking a lot of chances on 2-point conversions anyway. Yeah. So I think I'd keep it still as an option, because otherwise you are completely eroding the kicker position.
So where do you watch it?
You can watch it on the NFL Network on the Game
They've got
Pass.
an agreement deal with CBS, I think. So it's either CBS or Fox or one of those. So they broadcast one game. The NFL Network broadcasts 2 games a week. So if you have Game Pass, you can watch it there. They put some highlights go up on YouTube, but not all, I don't think. But I feel like you can probably watch most of the highlights on the NFL Network somewhere.
Yeah, the NFL put it all on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah. But yes,
how to watch? There you go.
Mark is taking some time out from the show to figure out which AAF franchise he'll support.
Yeah, I like the one with the big battleship because it's got a big battleship. I also like the one that says...
it's the Fleet.
San Diego.
San Diego, yeah.
I also quite like the Memphis, just because I find
Memphis Express. Apparently they're awful.
I find the word Memphis funny.
So well, there we go. Do you have a team, Max?
Not really yet. I'm kind of following my way through it. I think I might go
you're allowed
with
to
Orlando,
glory
though.
hog, so go for whoever's winning, just so that at least one of your teams does well.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Wow.
I've hit the hot shots before the season.
I think I'm going to go with Orlando to keep with the Florida theme going on.
I like the other team I quite liked was the Birmingham Iron. Quite industrial.
But it's got Birmingham in it, so...
Harsh. Birmingham, Alabama's a really nice place full of progressive ideas and forward thinking.
I was going to make a joke, but it wasn't appropriate.
It would have been allowed in Birmingham, so...
No. It would have been allowed in our Birmingham.
Anyway, yeah, so there's AAF. Yeah, we should probably talk about that some more in the future. I'll be up for that. But anyway, so kicking off the Narwhals, let's start with punter. Is there any debate that it's going to be Michael Dixon?
The only other guy I had was Hecker, because who cares?
Johnny Hecker.
Who gives a Hecker?
But I would go Dixon, actually. He was the Pro Bowler over Hecker this year. Not that means much, but the only thing you get with Hecker is you know that he's going to be able to pass the ball.
In fairness to Hecker, he's the best passer of the ball on that Rams team.
Yeah. Well, behind Sean Mannion.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. Although, one of my favourite commentary moments ever was when Jason Witten, Jared Goff did a fake punt. Johnny Hecker did a fake punt, and Jason Witten, in his stupid commentary state of mind, went, Johnny Hecker is as good a thrower as the ball as a quarterback. Like, no, he's not. Otherwise, he'd be a quarterback. Come on. Ridiculous. We have a relationship with Michael Dixon on the show. Those of you who remember the famous Seahawks rant from Liam Kilvington, God rest his soul, he's not dead, I should probably not say that, of last year's draft recap where they drafted a punter before they drafted an offensive lineman. In fairness, their offensive line worked out quite well, so it was all some master plan, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, Dixon is incredible. He's Australian, so he brings some joviality to the team. Bit of g'day, mate.
Johnny Hecker definitely has joviality. He was part of the whole Punters Are People too campaign. He's a legend.
Get him in the team.
I can't say I feel passionate about punters at this point.
I feel passionate about Michael Dixon. I really enjoy. One of my favourite parts of watching any Seahawks game is when they go 3 and out and Michael Dixon can come on, because his punts are just incredible. Such mastery of the ball.
Yeah, I don't care.
Should we have
I literally don't care.
I vote for Michael Dixon.
I vote for Johnny Hecker.
Oh, so it's down on me.
Of course it is.
The person who doesn't care.
Well, I have to go with Dixon, don't I? I put his name first.
Oh, I haven't got the kids. Do a kids yay. That'll do.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah.
We've only got one child with us today instead of the crowd we normally have. For kicker, I said Justin Tucker.
Oh, yeah.
You said Zerline, didn't you?
No, I did say Justin Tucker.
Oh, okay. Well,
nice.
it's easy that because I've also got Justin Tucker.
Brilliant.
Although I put Zerline down because he made some pretty ballsy kicks, especially in that Saints game.
We could bring Gano on because
Gano was someone else I considered.
I definitely wouldn't consider him, but if we had him as like our second choice kicker and then only used him when the kick was like 50 yards or more, because if it's under 50 yards he'll miss it, but it's over 50 yards he'll make it.
Yeah.
The only other person I had was Harrison Butker, so we could call him the butt kicker, but
Wow.
interesting, he drafted by the Panthers and then for some reason we let him go and chose Gano.
I mean, if you could have two, then you'd go for Vinatieri as like the experienced guy.
Oh god, actually I want Vinatieri. Vinatieri's going to play until he's 70.
I think that would be very...
if you don't get
Vinatieri will
hurt,
still
then
be
why?
playing with the Zimmer frame.
I think he's going to be playing longer than Brady just because he doesn't want to give
Adam
Brady...
Vinatieri is one of my favourite players in the
Vinatieri
NFL.
helped kickstart the franchise and maybe
I was watching that
he'll
game the
help
other day,
destroy the
actually.
franchise because he'll still be here.
I like it how he's still
Patriots
got
Panthers.
silver hair. Like,
He's so cool, man, isn't
he's
he?
just an old man.
Also, what a name.
The funny thing is, though, is don't they have another kicker as well that was kind of...
The Colts?
Yeah.
No.
No,
They
because
have,
didn't they have... they had someone else taking kicks for a while when Vinatieri was hurt.
Yeah, they bring
have-
people in.
No,
for-
they're punted as kickoffs. I think that's how it works. I'm not
Right,
sure why.
okay.
But
I think Johnny
Vinatieri did all the
Hecker
kicks.
got a kick, a field goal.
No, yeah, because
Did
Zerline was so
Yeah.
hurt. But the thing is the Rams spent that whole game going for 2-point conversions.
Yeah, and then they gave Johnny Hecker a chance to
Yeah,
kick
but
a
did you
field
see
goal.
their kick? It was awful. Like, it made it, but it was so slow.
If it makes it, it makes it.
True, yeah.
I mean, you were up like 33-0.
Probably didn't need the field goal.
Yeah.
All right, Vinatieri or Tucker then? Do we go for the GOAT or the boat?
You know what? I forgot about Vinatieri. I want Vinatieri on my team.
So
Yeah,
he's
okay,
just a cool guy, isn't he?
Let's bring up the average age.
and then I want Pat McAfee to be on commentary whenever.
Reunite the dream team.
Yeah.
Adam Vinatieri, you're our kicker.
Yay!
Brilliant. Right, in terms of cuts then, so obviously an NFL roster has 53 players. We currently, I've done the maths, including our special teams players, we now have 55. So first thing we need to do is pick someone to be our kick returner, for whom I would propose...
Who's in our running backs and wide receivers?
McCaffrey, Gurley, Johnson, Barkley, Jones, Hopkins, Beckham... Mike Adams, I still can't believe I wrote that. Stephon Diggs, Davante Adams, and Cooper Kupp.
What about
McCaffrey?
What about our safeties and cornerbacks?
Yeah, Patrick Peterson, who he was a punt returner for the
I think
Cardinals for a while.
McCaffrey.
Peterson, Ramsey, Sherman, Talib, Ward, Jamal Adams, Eddie Jackson, Harrison Smith, Derwin James, Earl Thomas.
We
I
don't really
personally-
have a defensive backs group to throw in special teams. I
No.
think.
I think a couple of them could contribute.
Yeah.
Like the younger players. Jamal Adams played special
But I
teams
like
for
the
a bit,
idea.
and Derwin James.
I like the idea of McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say McCaffrey for punts.
Although, in
and-
fairness, we want to be giving this role to a guy who won't be the primary.
Yeah.
Well, is
So
McCaffrey
maybe-
going to be our primary runner out of all of them? I mean, I know he's great, but
Not
He'd definitely be
necessarily.
the third down back, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, maybe in which case you would have him as the
Yeah.
returner then. I don't think that's too...
The only other person I'd put in the ring is maybe Beckham, but then obviously he'll be playing a lot probably.
yeah, he'll be playing
Yeah.
a lot.
So I guess Beckham as a reserve.
We could invite Antonio Brown to practice for our special
Yeah,
team.
he probably wouldn't
Tyreek Hill
I
is
mean,
one of the
he's-
wide receivers.
He.
We don't need
Whoa.
Tyreek Hill.
Whoa. Okay.
Tasted a bit salty.
Salty, yeah.
In terms of cuts then, do you want me to run through the entire team so that you can get an idea of who we might cut?
Well, I think realistically,
I think we can cut some from the offensive line, given there's loads of them.
Hey, it's good to have a
I
backup.
think depth is good on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I was thinking more like, how many running backs we got?
4, so I was thinking Todd Gurley.
I'm happy to get rid of a running back.
How
really.
many? 4.
Yeah. You only need 3, and Todd Gurley was our number 4.
Do we need 3 quarterbacks?
Stop. Yeah, we do.
What?
Every NFL roster has 3 quarterbacks.
No, the
Most.
minimum's 2.
Okay, well,
And even
including
then,
the practice squad, they have 3. There, sorted, fine. Boom. Yeah, but I like our quarterback room.
Yeah.
Mahomes, Luck, Rodgers. Nice
It's
trio.
just a crusade against the
I was going
Rams.
to cut TJ Watt or CJ Mosley from the defense and Gurley from the offense. because I feel like we don't need 5 linebackers.
Well, I remember we had the debate on TJ Watt and whether or not he qualified given the way that we'd set up our edge rushers. So if you would like to get rid of TJ Watt, I don't mind that.
There's one cut.
And then I'm happy to get rid of running back because we don't need 4 that are of that standard.
Yeah.
Well, frankly, no team needs any of these really. But,
needs 3 of that standard is more than enough.
Todd Gurley.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Gurley doesn't.
As a tear rolls down Mark's cheek, not really.
Gurley isn't.
As I invoke my red line on that, can he be cut from the team?
Yeah. I made the red line rule. I can change it for him.
Go on. Yeah.
Yay! Woohoo! All right.
Great. Right. Now that all the personnel issues are out of the way, we can move our attention to the coaching staff. Now, because we didn't really plan this out as smartly as we could have done, we already chose our defensive coordinator in the defense episode as Chris Richard, the play caller for the Cowboys defense.
Yeah.
Offensively, I know exactly what you will say, Mark. I'm not sure what you'll say, Max, but I say Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, you ruined my whole thing. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, you're going to start arguing. You thought I was going to say McVeigh?
No.
Because I thought you were going to say McVeigh.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say Sean McVeigh is offensive coordinator.
Right, here's why Shanahan should be it, right?
Preach it. I'll sit back and listen.
You haven't ruined anything. I just was hoping no one else would say it. I was kind of hoping you'd say McVeigh, but of course you weren't going to say McVeigh.
No.
So
it's the Rams bias.
I will spoil the fact that my head coach pick is Belichick, but that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone.
Yep.
And the reason I therefore go Shanahan and not McVeigh, despite the fact McVeigh seems to now be the new guy for Belichick, I don't really know. But anyway, Shanahan, from a personal perspective, has a lot of connections to Belichick. His father was really good friends with Belichick. Belichick kind of, so this whole story this year about McVeigh and Belichick having communication. Yeah. Well, that's what's been going on between Shanahan and Belichick for a few years now. The two faced each other in a Super Bowl, although Shanahan wasn't a head coach, but he had a much better game than McVeigh did. And the thing about Shanahan that I think he's kind of been lost in the discussion the last couple of years because of the way that his seasons have gone. So the first year in San Francisco, he didn't have a quarterback. Then he came around, and Garoppolo set the world on fire, and proved exactly what a Shanahan-led team with a proper quarterback will look like. This year, he didn't get the chance to show that because he lost him. But then with Nick Mullins, has proven that he can actually function a team when he hasn't got the pieces that he wants or needs.
Yep.
And I think next year when Garoppolo comes back, hopefully he stays healthy, McKinnon stays healthy.
I'm so excited.
They've got a good offensive line. They're probably going to nab a big receiver. There's a couple of them that'll be floating around potentially.
They've also got the second overall pick.
They've got the second overall pick.
A guy on defense.
And they're probably going to, I was going to say, they're probably going to get defensive end. Either it'll be Bosa or it'll be Allen or someone like that probably. The point is next year you will see what Kyle Shanahan's all about. But in terms of an offensive mind, I still put him. To me, there's kind of 3. There's McDaniels, there's McVeigh, and there's Shanahan. But right now, I think
not Rivera.
No. He's the 4th from very bottom.
It's Hugh Jackson.
I'd say Rivera is the strongest defensive mind in the league because he's at the bottom, holding all the others up.
But
what you put Rivera below Hugh Jackson?
Yeah.
I don't want to pick McDaniels because I don't trust him as a person.
Yeah.
So I automatically have to choose between Shanahan and McVeigh. I think Shanahan's proven much more in this league thus far. I'm not discrediting McVeigh at all. I just think we've seen Shanahan work with a guy in Matt Ryan who I like and I think is good, but is not naturally as good as that system made him. That offense was fire that year. Had things worked out differently, Shanahan would be a Super Bowl winning coordinator and should be, but that's neither here nor there.
Sorry, I'm joking.
Again, I just think that connection between Shanahan and Belichick would be
exciting.
It would be very exciting.
There's also the fact that Garoppolo was even traded to the Niners in the first place.
And in an ideal world, I mean, I in this weird thing when that deal happened, I was like, Belichick is going to end up in San Francisco at some point just so he can have Garoppolo. Probably it's like what Coughlin is in Jacksonville, but
director of football operations.
Yeah. Win in reality is just everything. But So I would pick Shanahan.
I agree with everything you said. I think if you look at McVeigh's an incredible offensive mind, don't get me wrong, and is the second best offensive mind in the NFL, but I've always been a Shanahan fan. And the three Shanahan teams the last 3 years have been the Falcons team that went to the Super Bowl, with MVP Matt Ryan, with Julio basically getting 4,000 yards himself. Let's not forget as well that he mentored Mohamed Sanu, who has a perfect passer rating in the NFL. 2 years ago was the fact that he managed to make a Niners offense featuring Brian Hoyer and CJ Beathard for a large part of the season functional, and no playmakers on the perimeter apart from Marquise Goodwin, who had a breakout year. This year, like you said, didn't have Garoppolo for all that long. Had to deal with Mullins, who I think Mullins is a good player.
Yeah, I like Mullins.
But Mullins is not a quarterback who should be playing the way he was playing. Kittle benefits greatly from the system as much as he is a great player as well. Dante Pettis, their new wide receiver.
Who's their running back that was big this year?
Yeah, Mark Breeder, another player who has no right to be as good as he is, but for me illustrates the lack of value of the running.
That's quite unfair.
That is very harsh in the sense of
everyone has a right to be good.
Yeah, in the sense of he shouldn't, where he was picked in the draft and the circumstances surrounding him, he's playing like a first round pick almost.
Okay, so this kind of reveals to me exactly why Shanahan should be picked. We've seen McVeigh with Washington as an offensive coordinator, and they had a functional offense. It was good, but no one was talking about the Redskins' offense. And then he comes to the Rams, and he's doing great. But everywhere Shanahan has been, even despite the fact they haven't had their key playmakers, people are talking about how great their offense is. And I think that's a testament to the fact that he can work with lack of talent and make it good.
And let's be honest, there's no lack of talent on this team.
No,
so
there
I'd be
isn't.
excited to see what Shanahan could do.
Exactly.
Imagine Shanahan and Rodgers, Mark. The two people who I think you would have chosen above all else for this NFLementary team, am I right?
Yep.
Were you going to say McVeigh? Do you want to make an argument for him?
Well, I mean, it's 2 against 1, so, why waste my breath? But, I may as well give it a go.
Hey, look, I can be swayed.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might convince me. You won't, but you might.
I won't. I'd say things like Sean McVeigh seems to have revolutionised the NFL's offensive capabilities. He seems to have brought in new systems that other teams have quickly picked up because of their effectiveness. He's taken a team throughout the season to do well throughout. And then you say not dealing with stars, like you constantly put down Goff. He has elevated Goff.
Oh my God. I didn't think of that. McVeigh can make Goff good. Now, if that's not a badge of approval, if Mark is willing to sacrifice Jared Goff for McVeigh, I mean, let's be honest. If you tell me Jared Goff is a bottom 5 quarterback, I might be inclined to pick McVeigh.
Well, in fairness, Garoppolo, I think, is a better quarterback than Goff.
Definitively, yeah.
Yeah.
Or he will be. But anyway, continue.
When he's actually on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, I'd take Garoppolo in the fitness room over Goff. I'm joking.
Continue. We've seen the instant impact that Sean McVeigh had on the Rams' offense.
The interesting thing is your argument actually was my alternative choice, which is someone we've not even spoken about yet. But I went out there and I said, well, why not bring in Lincoln Riley?
Oh,
because
God.
if anyone's revolutionised offense in NFL, it's Lincoln Riley, because he's done it straight from college. Because everything he's been doing in college, look at all the ways that the offenses are playing right now, especially in Kansas City, which I know is a little bit more of an obvious crossover. But the best way to bring him in is to bring him in under a head coach that's been there, done it 100 times. He gets to learn the way that he needs to run a team, because he doesn't need to learn the way how to execute a vision with a team. And then he can graduate and rule the world and win 10 Super Bowls in a row.
Lincoln Riley, he's the Oklahoma coach, am I right? Yeah. So worked with Mayfield and
Kyler
Murray. And I was going to say Dwayne. No, is it? No, Dwayne Haskins is Ohio State.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only in the NFL that you get a news story that says Kyler Murray now up to 205 pounds.
Literally, yeah.
He's like, okay,
although
good to know that he's put on weight.
They were saying on Undisputed that actually that's probably accurate, that he always was that. Because I didn't realise this, but when teams put out these stats, they inflate them.
Yeah.
They're never accurate because they don't sell if they're not accurate.
Well, no, apparently he was 195.
I know.
And was actually more likely to be about 190.
I know.
And they said he's like 5'10", and he's more likely to 5'9".
Well, this is the exact thing. So whoever was on the guest on the show was saying there's no way he's actually 5'10", because I'm 5'10", and he was shorter. He's more like 5'8".
Yeah.
And there's also no way he's gained 15 pounds because he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, I think what's ended up happening is they're trying to...
They're boosting his draft stock by essentially not like... Because if it comes to the combine, he gets measured, you can blame the combine measuring system, and you can say, well, our measuring system said different, and you're introducing doubt, and you're introducing like question marks. So,
but it is hilarious. It is hilarious because I mean, 15 pounds for a guy that's 190 pounds is quite a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Whereas C.J. Anderson puts that on in a week.
C.J. Anderson puts on 15 pounds when he has breakfast.
Yeah, literally. Well, no, yeah. Was it him that he?
What with the McDonald's?
He had to get like 4 McDonald's meals or something a day
to
after
maintain
practice.
Weight.
Yeah.
Classic C.J. Anderson.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, same. The ultimate bowling ball.
I probably could do that. After a frisbee weekend, I'll go to Wetherspoons and get like 2,000 calories worth of food.
Oh my god!
I don't count calories. I count mouthfuls.
I only do it on the Wetherspoons because it has like the calories next to it. So I'm like, what has lots of calories? 3 plates.
You should film it and do a 2,000 calorie challenge at Wetherspoons. I don't think that's been done before on YouTube. They're quite popular. Well, I had a big McDonald's the other day. If anyone's interested.
Oh, nice. What did you go for?
I had wrap of the day, which was the chicken and bacon barbecue. I got, and then obviously got that as a large meal.
Yeah. Did you get a student card?
No, because I ordered it on the machine and I couldn't be bothered to go up to the front. And then I realised I had a voucher in my pocket for a $1.99 McChicken sandwich and chips, so I got that as well. It doesn't feel that big when I speak about it, but at the time it felt very big.
No, that's a decent sized meal. That's good.
And that's what she said.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I love McVeigh. I love Lincoln Riley. I think they both have... Well, McVeigh arguably has already carved out a place in the legacy. And the one thing that you said that really resounded with me was the idea about play concepts and things like that, like the end around. And the use of motion is very much, become on vogue, if that's the way you say it, on trend, I think, in the NFL this year. And McVeigh is a big cause of that. But I just can't move away from my boy Carl.
No, I picked Shanahan, but you're right. Everyone,
you made a very good case for McVeigh, and if we can have like an assistant offensive coordinator, Sean McVeigh is more than welcome to come in.
In fairness, I would not be angry if McVeigh was my offensive coordinator,
not at all. But I would literally kill for... Well, no. Okay, I wouldn't literally kill. We're broadcasting live. I would sacrifice a lot to have McVeigh as the head coach in Carolina.
Or how about this? I think next year, when Shanahan has Garoppolo back, we'll be seeing similar thing to what happened this year with people copying McVeigh's system 2 or 3 weeks later. They'll be doing the same thing with what 49ers are doing.
Also, I mean, how blessed are we that these two are in the same division now?
Oh, that is going to be insane. Because
I think, how blessed are we? Not you. You have to play them.
If certain players in Seattle move on, I think it then becomes a 2-team division for the next couple of years, and it's going to be San Francisco,
like Kingsbury
Los Angeles.
And the Cardinals. That could be an offensive
Well, this
explosion.
Is the thing. If Kingsbury can get to manage a team properly, you have Kingsbury, McVeigh, and Shanahan in the same division.
All in one division.
That's
Talk
crazy.
About a concentration
and
of offensive
fairness
power.
to Pete Carroll's still the best head coach out of all those four. So it makes a very interesting division.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan.
Sorry,
head coach.
It's when all the teams have a winning record and you're just like, this is...
It's possible.
Happened in
the
NFC South a couple of years ago,
didn't it? Yeah,
happens, moving on to head coach, we already hinted, Max, at Bill Belichick. Anyone could argue with that.
Well, I did
greatest
think Ron
coach
Rivera.
of all time. No, don't. Literally don't. Even the name gives me shivers.
John Elway?
Oh no, he needs to be our executive and basically every member of the board.
I think he should just be our quarterback consultant.
Yeah. Just be our quarterback.
At this rate, I would not be surprised if Elway benches Flacco for Elway. You laugh. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Because if he thinks Brady can still play, well, I can still play.
Do you know what I think will happen is it will be like a Simeon situation where he'll pick a quarterback in the 7th round just to have on the roster, and then he'll turn out to be all right, and then that will buy him another couple of years in the job. I think that's what will happen with Elway.
No, but the thing is with Elway is you can't fire John Elway from Denver.
Yeah, after what he's done.
You can't. If you do that, it's like...
You have to wait for him to want to go.
It's like, this might be too extreme, but it's like Christians deciding that Jesus is no longer the face figure of Christianity. Do you know what I mean?
Mark, as our resident Christian, do you agree with that statement?
Right, the point, right. John Elway is Jesus in Denver. That's what I'm saying.
Jesus Elway.
But you can't. But what I'm saying is he is in a position right now where you cannot let go of him.
Yeah, he's untouchable.
Exactly. So he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
He's like Gruden, but without the contract, because Gruden, no one.
He's
really
got the social contract of people's hearts.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone going to disagree with Bill Belichick as
No.
head coach? Excellent. Bill Belichick as our head coach.
Special teams coach.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
John Fussell.
Yeah, 100%.
I was going to say Jim Harbaugh. But all right.
What, for special teams coach?
He's the only head coach right now that's a special teams coordinator. That's what he was.
Really? I thought he was
Yeah.
defensive.
No, that's what he
That's
was.
super interesting.
Yeah.
I love John Fassel. So,
Oh, I like saying Harbaugh.
well,
I don't
did you just say
care.
Saint Harbour?
I like saying.
Oh.
I like Saint Harbaugh.
Whoa. Sitting there in your box top,
Yeah, I know.
preaching about the Saint Harbour and Jesus Elway. It's
Yeah.
got very religious on the show.
I know.
Yeah, John Fassel,
Bro,
incredible.
We've got a Rams coach. I'm happy now.
Yeah, incredible special teams
Yeah, I
coordinator.
can't
There's a
really deny
reason
that.
that he's the only relic from the Jeff Fisher era to still be in a job. I say relic, he's not that old, but general manager.
I won't call them relics either. I'd
No.
call them more like unfortunates. Anyway.
We're not going beep 8-8.
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher quote for those of you who don't know. General manager. I don't know if I have a love for this man, but I'm not sure if I've expressed it to you guys enough. Who do you think I'm going to say? I've said it a fair few times on the show, but not really consistently.
Is it your general manager?
No bloody way. If my general manager fell into a river and got swept away, I wouldn't be sad.
Go on, who is it?
John Dorsey, man.
Oh, okay.
I love the guy.
Okay.
I really love the guy. I
Okay.
loved him as soon as he did a press conference in a sweatshirt that said "Dog Pound." I loved him as soon
Is
as
he the Browns?
Yeah, as soon as he finally sacked Hugh Jackson. I loved him for his just ballsiness in taking Baker Mayfield in the first place, and the results that have come out of that. I love him for the way he absolutely finessed the Jags with Carlos Hyde, basically dumped Carlos Hyde on them when he knew he had Nick Chubb, kept Nick Chubb fresh the first few weeks of the season. Then once he'd used Carlos Hyde enough, dumped him off the Jags where he's been completely ineffective, brought Chubb up to the fore where he was incredibly effective for the Browns. All his personnel moves, I think, have been absolutely spot on. The Jarvis Landry sign maybe a bit meh, but it's worked.
No, I think the Jarvis Landry sign was very good because
Let's not forget-
Baker Mayfield needed an experienced receiver.
Let's not forget he's the one who drafted Mahomes, moved up for him, saw
was
the
gonna
talent,
say,
identified him early
Dorsey's
doors.
track record is
Assembled
good.
the majority of that Kansas team. If you take out maybe Sammy Watkins and their new running backs,
And he's the only guy as well, in fairness to him, that has the balls this early on to say, well, we're going to take Kareem Hunt despite him not maybe playing
Yeah.
next year. Because he's worked with him and he knows what he wants, and if people don't like it, it's fine, because in the end he'll prove them wrong. That's the sort of guy he is.
yeah, I mean, I disagree with it as a decision, but he clearly doesn't give a damn about what people think, and he will exclusively do what's in the best interest of the team.
That's exactly it. I was going to say he does what's in the best football interest.
Yeah.
And that's hence why he gave Hugh Jackson his time, because I think it was the right thing to do respectfully.
Give him a chance with the quarterback just to finally put the nail in the coffin and say, look, you can't blame your quarterback situation anymore. You've had Baker, you've had Tyrod, you weren't able to be successful with them, and now it's time for you to go.
I'm being funny, his previous head coach was Andy Reid. He knows what he needs.
Yeah.
And maybe he sees that in Freddie Kitchens too.
Yeah. Also, he's assembled an incredible coaching staff. Kitchens, Monken, and Steve Wilkes.
I like your choice. However, I'm going with the obvious candidate because it has never not worked, and that's Bill Belichick.
Oh.
Belichick has been the general manager for the Patriots the whole time, and
he pulled the rug out from under my feet.
As a drafter, not bad. Can't draft a receiver to save his life, but it ain't that bad, really.
No.
I mean, Isaiah Wynn hasn't played a game yet, and people are saying that's the next big tackle.
Sony Michel.
Yeah, Sony Michel. That was a
Good
really
pick this
great
year.
underrated pick that I don't think people are talking about.
Has drafted arguably two potential franchise. Well, I'd say definitely. He obviously drafted Brady, and no one really thought he'd be a franchise quarterback. But let's not forget he also drafted Garoppolo and Brissett, who I think. Garoppolo definitely will be a franchise quarterback. Brissett, I still think, has potential to go out there after he's with Indy and get a starting job.
Yeah, with the market.
And could really prove himself as an exciting player. I don't think has had a fair shot.
But the thing with Belichick is, given the role of general manager too, he's epitomising everything that is good with New England, and it's being made even more obvious with everything that's going on in Pittsburgh, because their general manager, their head coach have lost their control completely. Belichick is always...
Who's the Steelers general manager?
Who cares?
And he's dealt with big personalities.
He's dealt with big personalities, but he's also been a man manager, and he's been able to bring in guys...
Kevin Colbert.
Yeah, like, you've been able to bring in guys that are, like, second, maybe even third tier guys, and he's made them that because he's a great visionary for what he thinks. Okay, that talent will work in this system. I don't care it didn't work anywhere else because it will work here.
Case in point, Cordero Patterson this year.
And I mean, he's also a risk taker. He looked at Josh Gordon and said, "Look, we need a deep threat. No one else is going to take him, but we can, and we'll put him through everything he needs to get put through." They even gave him a ring this year because they thought he did enough to put him there. Yeah. Belichick, I think it's a difficult role to play. From the sounds of things, he doesn't really have much of a life, because apparently he's even in his hot tub, he's watching game film. Apparently he's that in it. But I'd rather have that, knowing that the track record speaks for itself.
Yeah. Mark?
Oh dear.
Say Gruden, say it.
Not a chance.
Say Mike Mayock.
Yeah. I can't believe that. I'm sorry. We're going to have to do a Raiders episode.
What?
So basically, the Raiders have hired as a new general manager the former NFL draft analyst, Mike Mayock, for NFL Network.
You're a draft analyst on NFL Network. Like, what are you doing?
Why?
No. You know why? Because
he's just going to be
best
Gruden's,
friends with John Gruden.
Yeah.
He is. That's literally the only reason.
Are the Raiders just trying to be a joke team? Are they trying to get to the Browns?
No, in fairness to Gruden, I think he's trying to mould it in his image, but...
We'll speak about the Raiders we'll speak briefly about them in our news segment, and then also we could do an episode potentially on what the hell is going on in Oakland. But who's your GM, Mark? Dorsey or Belichick?
Or anyone else?
Yeah,
I'm going to go Belichick. I think he's tried and tested, and
I can accept it. I do love you, John Dorsey.
I like John Dorsey too.
Does he get the paycheck of a GM and the paycheck of a
I would
head
presume
coach?
so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one.
He's never been announced as the GM. He's just kind of the de facto GM, isn't he?
Well, no, he is the general manager.
Right,
but the thing is, not a lot of people realise it because he is very much head coach first,
as well, yeah.
But I think he's an autonomous head coach, I guess is the way you can put it.
Yeah, he makes all the personnel decisions.
But he is also general manager. But with the way Robert Kraft's going right now, he also might be de facto owner next year as well, the way it's going.
Oh yeah, we should probably talk about
that.
Yeah. Other names I considered, Les Snead from the Rams has done. I mean, in terms of like we're now building a super team, Les Snead arguably came as close to that as you can at the beginning of last year. Is it Howie Roseman
from
the Eagles, who seems
to
be a cap space magician and somehow managed to sign Ngata last year, despite the fact they had literally like negative cap room, and maintain Wentz and Foles on the roster. Chris Ballard from the Colts,
I like that too.
Who has constructed again probably one of a historical draft class for the Colts, full of like 5 or 6 starters and exciting young players coming up. All those names are considered, but I think in the end Belichick does deserve to get it. There's our NFLementary Narwhal team. Like I said, if you missed our earlier episodes, please do check them out. They're on our YouTube channel. This will also be going live on the YouTube channel as I try to suppress a burp. Moving forward. You are why. So this next segment of the show is just your typical news segment. We're just going to give our takes on some of the big stories to come out of the NFL recently. And of course, we commence with... I'd actually like to take a brief side note here. So rather than NFL news, I want to tackle world news. So this is an issue that's been tackled. It's particularly relevant in the UK and also in Europe. Not really. It's kind of worldwide relevant. There have been recently lots of announcements about it. I know it's not something we normally talk about on the show, but I feel like it's our duty as the NFLementary team to talk about it. It's what's going down with Antonio Brown. I was talking about Brexit?
I was there like, where's he going with this?
I had no idea what you're talking about.
I had this plan in my head where I was going to try and make, because I was watching the news this morning and obviously Brexit was relevant, and I had this plan where I was going to try and make you think we were going to talk about Brexit, but I had to make it about Antonio Brown, and then I realised as I was speaking that Antonio Brown news isn't really that relevant to the UK and Europe as a whole. It was worth it. It was an interesting intellectual challenge trying to equate Antonio Brown to Brexit.
Yeah, but I think Antonio Brown equates himself to something like Brexit, so it works.
Should we call it? Oh my! It is Brexit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brown exiting Steelers. Brexit. Instead of Britain exiting, it's Brown exiting.
Okay,
Wow,
yeah.
the real Brexit we care about.
Yeah.
yeah.
We do also care about the other one. But I think we have to be neutral for Ofcom reasons. But anyway, what's going down with Antonio Brown? Well, I'm not sure where we last left you. But he has
demanded his trade.
Yeah, he's demanded the trade. He met with there was this whole palaver about he's in Florida at the moment, isn't he? Or is it, I don't know, he's somewhere. And Art Rooney, the team president or whatever, the owner, came to meet him. And initially Antonio Brown said, "Go away, I will not meet you." And then he said, "Okay, I'll meet you." And they basically, it seems like they had a nice, productive meeting. Antonio Brown put a statement out and he was like, "Yeah, all the love to Rooney. You're a nice guy, good chat, but we agreed that it's in the mutual interests of both of us to part ways." So the Steelers are now fielding offers for Antonio Brown. In terms of landing spots, what do we think? And if anyone says Carolina, I'll walk out.
Well, I was going
Why
to...
don't you think Carolina?
We don't have the caps. Well, there's why don't I think and why it would be bad for Carolina. It would be bad for Carolina because we already have two very young, exciting receivers in DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. We have Jarius Wright, who can be our older guy. We're probably going to be letting Devin Funchess go. I think that's a bad decision, but that's probably what's going to happen. Fine. We don't have that much cap space. Although we have. I think yesterday we let Mike Adams and Captain Mullen go, so our average age of the team has dropped by 70 years. So cap space is developing, which worries me because I feel like they're making space to sign Darrell Williams, which would be a stupid decision. But anyway,
yeah, but fundamentally,
we do not need to concentrate draft assets in the form of picks. We don't need to. We need those picks. We can't give them away. We need to get younger, especially on defense, and we need offensive linemen. And we can't afford to concentrate the cap in one receiver when we already have actually quite a lot of strength at the receiver position. I saw a stat the other week that last season was statistically the Panthers receivers as a group, it was their best ever season in terms of catches, yardage, all that kind of stuff, which shows we're kind of evolving into less of this run first team. But I just Antonio Brown and Cam Newton are friends, I know that, but I just
in terms of play they make no sense together at all. Cam Newton is not the player Antonio Brown needs him to be to fulfill what Antonio Brown wants to be.
Also, I'm not being funny, but in terms of title contenders, I would not put Carolina up there with some of the other teams.
No, but the thing is I don't think Brown wants to go to a title contender.
You think
he wants to go to somewhere with money because he's made it very clear, because he's already on a title contending team, and if he kept his head down, then
maybe he would have helped him get the title.
I mean, when you think about the Steelers roster,
it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculously stacked. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league with a Hall of Fame quarterback, a Hall of Fame receiver, a guy that, if he keeps playing the way he is, will probably be a Hall of Fame running back. You can't lose with that. So,
and Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to talk about free agents in general at some point, aren't we? But in terms of Antonio Brown, there's places I'd like to see him go and places where I think he's more likely to go. So San Francisco, they still have cap room. That makes sense. Pierre Garçon has been let go, so there's an opening there, and a really big opening.
Alongside, Goodwin?
So, Goodwin, Pettis, you've got McKinnon in the backfield. It makes sense. Kittle, yeah, it makes sense. It's ready-made for him there. I think Oakland's a potential space. I know it'd be ironic because they said they can't afford to pay Mac, but equally, I think it's Oakland thinking about offense and not defense.
Yeah, and Brown's cap hit is 23 million for the Steelers, but 10 of that is guaranteed money that they would have to absorb. So actually, your cap hit's only something, I think it's like 36 million over 3 seasons, which averages out about 12 a season. So I know I said it's bad to concentrate a lot of cap, but he doesn't necessarily carry that much in the grand scheme of things.
But I'm telling you now, if Antonio Brown ends up in Green Bay, it's all over. Because if Antonio Brown ends up in Green Bay,
we did speak about this, and I think I floated it, and you said it wouldn't be a good idea because Davante Adams is Aaron Rodgers' number one, and he would do to Brown what Juju did to Brown last year and steal the targets and not give him what he wants, which is to be ultimately the guy.
Here's the difference between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers is the Steelers still like their run game. The Packers do not.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Packers is Aaron Rodgers is the sort of guy who enjoys flinging the ball 50 times a game because that's what he's good at doing. Yeah. And the thing is sure, you have Adams and he might steal from him, but the difference is Davante Adams is so established that if you're a defense and you've got to go up against Aaron Rodgers and he has Brown, he has Adams. In the middle, maybe he has Cobb, or he has St. Brown, or he has
Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, whoever the hell it is, basically.
Jimmy Graham.
Who do you double team? Because whoever you double team, he's passing to the other person, and you know that, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. But even if you're double teaming Brown, he's going to put it in there because there's no other guy better at making that accurate throw. So I think Brown, if he wants to go to a team that will willing to pay him the money, he's going to get the stats that he wants. He's going to have... Rodgers is another lead to Roethlisberger when it comes to accuracy.
Yeah. I
think actually Brown will get what he wants out of it if he ends up in Green Bay, because I think he's the thing that puts that offense over the top.
Yeah.
I mean, personality-wise, I'm not quite sure how much it fits, but equally, I think Rodgers is more in the mindset of Brown in that I want to win.
Rodgers is a win-first guy, isn't he? And that might come across sometimes as sacrificing the team for the sake of himself, but actually I think the whole McCarthy thing, where he kind of, not confirmed, but it seems as though Rodgers definitely picked up his play once McCarthy had gone.
Yeah.
Rodgers knows he's the guy in Green Bay. He will never leave. That contract confirmed for him that he will never leave. And we were talking about Elway's Jesus. Rodgers is potentially a Jesus in Wisconsin, and because of what he's done.
Here's the other thing, though, for Green Bay is, I think it kind of gets ignored a little bit, but not many teams go from Hall of Fame quarterback straight to Hall of Fame quarterback. Look at Denver. They struggled for years, and they're still struggling. Most teams can't do it. But the Packers went from a guy who at one time was kind of considered to be prematurely, because I don't think he is, but the best ever.
3 MVPs in a row, didn't he?
Yeah, so he came in the 90s and people were like, this guy's better than Montana. In the end, he wasn't, but he's up there. And then you go from that guy straight to Aaron Rodgers, who's even better.
It's kind of unfair.
It's unfair, but the thing is what do you have to show for it? 2 Super Bowls in 25 years. So you give him Antonio Brown, you make the pitch to Antonio Brown, we're going to pay you, you're going to get Aaron Rodgers, because there's no better option right now.
Yeah, any team with Aaron Rodgers is a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah,
we say that at the beginning of every year, and the last 2 years it might not have panned out for whatever reason, but Aaron Rodgers on one leg was still better than the majority of starting quarterbacks.
And you
in the NFL.
have to work with what you've got to work against. You've got to work against one of the best defenses in Chicago, one of the best top to bottom rosters in Minnesota, and you never know what you're going to get with Detroit. Yeah. But thinking about Detroit, forgetting about Detroit, the other 2 teams, what do you need? Well, you need a guy that's going to be able to make plays in coverage. You're going to need a guy that's going to have to put you over the top and make your offense better than their defense. Well, Antonio Brown does that no matter what team he's on.
Yeah. Be a big challenge for, what's his face? Matt LaFleur in his first year as a head coach, trying to deal with Rodgers and Brown. But if he's up for it, that's a potential landing spot. The other place I'd say is just because of the cap room, the Jets. They have recently signed Enunwa to a new deal, which I think was a really good idea. I love Enunwa. And I know Jamal Adams on Twitter is so funny to watch, because he basically just either retweets highlight tapes of himself, annoys Skip Bayless, hashtag presidents, because that's his nickname, or tweets at free agents saying, I'll take you out for lunch, my treat, come to New York. They have the cap space. Could they absorb Brown and Bell? Hell yeah, they could. Would that absolutely revolutionise Darnold? Hell yeah, it would. If they imagine if they draft an offensive lineman, draft essentially a new offensive line, get Antonio Brown as the number 1 receiver, get Le'Veon Bell as the number 1 running back, Sammy Darnold in at quarterback. The defense is already coming on strong with Jamal Adams, Leonard Williams. Suddenly the Jets are in a very exciting place. I don't think they need Le'Veon Bell, but why the hell not? Let's not forget that at one point we were talking about Le'Veon as the best running back in the league.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, I was thinking if Brown doesn't go to the Packers, Bell should go to the Packers, because that play action. Don't even bother, because you have to stack the box against Bell. But you stack the box against Bell, the play action, you're scoring every time.
Davante Adams is 1-on-1 outside. You can't afford to.
So with the Jets, if you can get Darnold, one or both of those guys, it's just unfair.
I think Darnold is probably, alongside maybe Holyfield, the most exciting quarterback to come out of that class. Well, maybe Jackson as well, but he's exciting in a different way. And I think Darnold, with a decent offensive line and some different weapons around him, will be a very different player than the Darnold we saw last year. We will do a full episode on free agents. So I think we're gonna go through just the NFL free agent list and just kind of match up nice destinations for them, put forward cases. Probably see a lot of the Jets because of their abhorrent cap room. Also, the Colts have a lot of cap room, don't they?
Yeah, they do, which is scary.
Which is just classic Chris Ballard, isn't it?
Given that they've already got a great team and pretty much no one's leaving.
Yeah.
I mean,
they basically can do whatever they want.
In fairness, what's the one thing the Colts kind of need more than anything? A receiver, because they've got a lot of tight ends. They've got T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, they need someone.
Antonio Brown with Andrew Luck. I mean,
I think Mark speaks for all of us.
Do you know what? At this rate, he'll end up in Los Angeles because the Rams just have this Philadelphia thing where they can just afford anything.
They could just fudge the numbers.
Yeah.
The other thing, we'll briefly speak about the Raiders and their location. They have managed to negotiate a deal with the Coliseum in Oakland. They will be staying there for 2019, and if Las Vegas isn't ready by 2020, I'm pretty sure they'll be staying there as well.
Needs to be confirmed on Wednesday, but
it should be. I think it's
pretty much a done deal now.
Yeah. I mean, what can we say apart from the fact that
this situation's a joke?
Yeah.
It's like, we're leaving, but let us stay for a little while longer because we've really messed everything up.
There's also stuff like, obviously, when they built the Coliseum, it was a joint thing between the Raiders and also the city of Oakland. And, you know, in America, when they build these massive stadiums, a lot of the funding from it comes from taxes, and because obviously it brings, in theory, it brings things to the region. And also, you know, the promise of if you have a new stadium, you'll get a Super Bowl there. You know, people believe that brings more revenue into the country, into the state and the city. How much that is true, I'm not sure, but so Oakland still owe the Raiders still owe the city of Oakland actually quite a lot of money for that stadium, and they were just going to up and leave. That was part of the reason why the Coliseum was so bitter with them when they wanted to come back. I think it just represents Oakland as a franchise. It's been horrendously mismanaged. They've made promises they can't fulfill. They're completely sacking off they're an awful team, but they have a hell of a loyal fan base, and they're basically just sacking them off. I think they're a particularly toxic fan base, but they're at the very least they're loyal, and they're sacking them off to move up the coast in what is essentially a massive money grabbing move.
The thing is it is money grabbing because it didn't shock me that the Raiders were leaving Oakland. I thought they'd go back to LA, but then 3 teams in LA is a bit excessive.
3 teams in LA.
Well, I mean, think about it. 3 years ago, there wasn't a team in LA, so he wasn't out of the question. Then they were considering San Francisco. I was like, okay, if there's one place you go in California, it ain't San Francisco. But leaving California surprised me because, like you say, the fan base is so loyal. It just
the Black Sea.
To me, and I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but it's like the Giants leaving New York. Yeah. It's like you can't move the Raiders out of the California area, the Bay Area.
Moving more into kind of like American current affairs and what they were thinking at the time was obviously when they announced the move, Las Vegas was the only place in America where you could legally gamble.
Yeah.
So obviously it drew a lot of people in, and they could be that team where we've got a gambling booth in our stadium, something like that, and that could be they draw people in, they draw tourists into their games because you can bet on Oakland as you watch Oakland, that kind of thing, or you can come and watch a game and then go to the casino afterwards. Whereas now I'm pretty sure there's been some kind of ruling in a district court or a federal court or a Ninth Circuit court, I'm not sure, basically the one before the Supreme Court, around the area of New York, which basically said that you can gamble now.
Yeah.
And I think it's being referred to the Supreme Court, but the NFL is now preparing for a situation where the entire nation can gamble on American sports, which means Las Vegas loses its niche, it loses its trademark.
It does, but there are more hotel rooms in Las Vegas than there are in most cities combined. It's ridiculous. So even the Raiders you sell out your stadium every week. It don't matter. It's not full of your fans because you're making money.
Yeah.
You're in a hospital. I mean, it's a reason why so many bands and whatnot will go to Las Vegas and do 20-day residencies. Yeah. They sell out every single night because it's Las Vegas. Yeah. People are there. I think it's sickening. I hate
it. Of place I'm not saying we'd go, but on a holiday, you go there, and people who like the NFL, they're like, "Oh, now I've got a chance.
Now we can catch a game. Yeah.
Now we can watch a game live in America." Which
same kind of New York principle, isn't it?
Which is incredible. Yeah. So I think my dad did that when he went to Washington. He watched the Redskins, and So it's just the sort of thing
True.
that's an added bonus to people.
But
who go.
I mean, look, it's a money grab, isn't it? But that's the way the franchise is going. And then finally, in these last 5 minutes, Max was the first one to mention this to me. Actually, I didn't notice it, but then I read up on it a bit more. There was I'm not really sure what to call it, because I'm not sure if it quite qualifies as a rumor or if it was just kind of like a hint. Of Russell Wilson going to the New York Giants. Basically, the way it would work is potentially a trade, but I don't think anyone would go for that because the Seahawks wouldn't want to lose it. But more likely, as Russell Wilson's contract is up for renewal soon, if they tag him, he'll make $32 million in the first year and then $55 million or something, or $50 million in the second year, which is completely unsustainable no matter how much your salary cap grows. So if Russell Wilson doesn't want to get tied down to a big time deal, he could essentially force his way out in the same way that Cousins did with the Redskins. Not to compare Wilson's to Cousins, because one of them is a great quarterback and the other one is all right at best. And then the other thing is Russell Wilson's wife's a singer, Ciara or whatever, and apparently she wants more opportunities in New York than she currently gets in Seattle, even though I'm pretty sure LA is like 2 hours drive away.
It's New York though.
Yeah.
Look, the way I see it is with Russell Wilson is he's been there and done that with Seattle, and I think the perception of a guy like Russell Wilson is a similar thing to the likes of Brady, Manning, Favre, all those guys. You stay loyal to your team because that's kind of the way it is. You've had success there, why leave?
Yeah.
But Wilson, moving on, he has better weapons. He has an offensive-minded coach.
He can finally get away from a team that basically this year in particular has gone run, bail us out, Wilson. Run, bail us out, Wilson.
Yeah.
It would be dirty.
It's an interesting move. I'm going to make a case for it when we talk about free agency, because I think it should happen, because I think the potential for the Giants to suddenly go from worst to first in that division is obvious to me. Yeah, and the only other thing I will say is that the Giants, they've announced... Well, I don't know if they've announced it, but Landon Collins isn't coming back. That's a big contract gone.
Really?
Damon Harrison, they shipped him off. Big contract gone. But they're hanging on to Beckham. Why?
Because they need someone there.
But I know, but he's offensive. Are they making room for a guy who's going to be paid big money while Eli Manning sits out the rest of his contract? You can't get rid of him, so he's going to get paid money. Are you trying to make enough space to bring in another guy that you can afford? Russell Wilson turns that offense from terrible to incredible. He hides all of the deficiencies of that offensive line. He's
also, if we look at Pat Shurmur, who's the head coach of the Giants, I'll quickly go through this. He had massive success with Case Keenum in Minnesota. Case Keenum has, in no way am I comparing Keenum to Wilson, but they have at the least a relatively similar play style, and that Wilson can stay in the pocket and throw for sure, but Wilson can also go out of the pocket and make some amazing throws, like Keenum is better at. Not better than Wilson, just better than himself in the pocket. So if Shurmur's had success with that similar kind of technique, could he then have success with Wilson?
They're also the same height, just saying.
Well, unless Wilson's like 5'4" and all the teams have been lying this entire time. That's all we have time for this week as the news intro timer ticks on. We will be back on Friday, of course, at 9 a.m. I'm pretty sure. Why don't we just start tackling free agency then? We're also going to be amping up our draft content in the next few weeks, getting on some mock drafts and stuff like that. I found this thing that's been released called the Mock Draft Machine. We'll talk about that some more on Friday. That could be really interesting for us to do. Thank you all very much for listening. This will, of course, be live on our YouTube. Make sure you check that out. Just search up NFLementary on YouTube. Also follow us on Twitter. Again, thank you all for listening. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. Goodbye.